Good morning and welcome to episode 10. 10 episode. This is very cool. How are you doing, everyone? Today I'm here because the other day I posted in the Substack notes the picture of the setting in which I was doing my work done. If it's your first time here, first the introduction. I am Nicoz Balboa. I am a trans man. I'm Italian, but I've been living in France for more than 20 years. I have a teen daughter. I am a mom, and I run a tattoo and art studio in La Rochelle, in the very west of France, by the ocean. And I also do graphic novels in Italy and translated also in France. And in this podcast, I want to talk about the creative process, or at least I want to observe mine. If it's the first time you land on this podcast, that I have this space in La Rochelle called Strangeland, which is the studio where I tattoo. This is how I make a living, and also where I take time to create my illustrations, and also where I'm starting giving graphic journaling classes in person. And I live in a very cool flat with my daughter and sometimes my partner and also my dog Albert. And in this very cool flat, which I'm very grateful for, I have an home studio. I have a room, a spare room in which I have all my journals, all my artistic archives, my professional memorabilia, but also like all the art supplies and paper and all the things I need to do my profession. And I have this table and I have a balcony, and it's a very cool space, as is Strangeland. If you don't know what Strangeland looks like, go to strangeland.fr and you will find my tattoo space in La Rochelle. Why I'm telling you this? Am I bragging? No, I'm not bragging. The thing is that my daughter lived with me 1 week with me and 1 week with her father. And even if during the week in which she's with her father, we met and we do things on, especially on Wednesday. And I also have a partner who lives like 2 hours and a half from La Rochelle. So when they are in town, we live together, but this is not their home 100%. My living situation, it's like sometimes it's a very full house, but sometimes I'm all alone. And it's very funny to see how it changes my mood. I guess because of my inability to concentrate or to focus, or maybe my super ability to hyper focus sometimes. When I'm all alone, it's easier to get into my creativity because I know that I can have, 2 hours, 3 hours strike without anyone coming and ask me even a tiny question this tiny question can get me out of my concentration for like 3 days. So I cherish this moment of solitude. I appreciate when my house is full and it's very cool, and I'm very grateful to have love in my life and to have a very cool daughter. But I cherish those moments of solitude, and in those moments I can just like don't make dinner, eating just right from the fridge. And if I'm not doing it at Strangeland, maybe I can also avoid showering, and I can stay at home and concentrate on drawing or writing my book, like my graphic novels. Sometimes I need one time to write the book. I'm not a writer, but anyway, to do all the creative stuff that I like to do. and sometimes those creative stuff pay my bills. This is very cool. They don't pay it like the other day. Despite I have one wall tattoo studio in town and I have one wall spare room in my house, in my home, my living room became an art studio. And I like those moments in which I can take over the living room. And so on the couch, there are pens and papers, and I can sit on the carpet, and I have a very small, like very old kid desk, and I use it as a desk from which I can sit on the floor. And I had this, and I have this image that once I cut from I don't know which magazine, of this Tokiwa house, or I don't know the name. It's like a place, like a mansion in Japan, where in Tokyo, where Osamu Tezuka and Fujiko Fujio they worked in their young age. It's an old house, but I guess it doesn't exist anymore. It's like now it's like a manga museum, and this was the place where these legendary mangakas used to draw, maybe when they were younger. But now it's a sort of museum of manga in Tokyo. I'm sorry if I'm not giving the infos very detailed because I don't remember very well. If you are listening and you know more, sorry to don't be very accurate, because I wasn't talking about this, but I have this image from this house, and once I cut it from this magazine, as I was saying, in which there is this picture, in which there is this setting of it's a room in which you can see the setting from those mangakas to draw. And I loved it because the desk is so tiny that to draw on it, you have to be seated on the floor, which is the way I drew my graphic novel, Play with Fire, that it's out in Italian and in French. So if you can read one of those two languages, you can find it. But anyway, the other night I have the house all for myself. And I could like sit everywhere, even on the dinner table or something like this. But I got back my old setup. I just make the little difference, the little change in which I put a pillow under my butt to make my back a little bit more straight to avoid the back pain. And it felt so good. So what's the thing that I like so much in being in this comfortable, cozy, regrouped position when I draw? It feels like I am like in the middle of a nest. I like this feeling of being like in a cozy place. I'm not wearing shoes. I'm wearing like a short or a comfy pants, and I'm on the floor, on the carpet. And it feels very good. I don't know if it's a thing. If I can forget about my body, it's way more easy to relax and maybe connect to the inner part of myself, which is creative. And also there is this sensation of when I'm in this like nest like space, and then I'm in my, as French would say, I'm in my juice. I'm into like some some liquid, some inner space liquid, like I'm a fish in a bowl. I feel like I'm safe, and I know that I will not get distracted because there is no external solicitation. And so I feel safe, and I can let go, and I can very calmly, very easily go with the flow of my creativity. Pardon me for this very hippie image that I'm giving you, but this is the feeling. And sometimes when I'm at Strangeland, I love my studio so much because it's like it's cozy, it's colored, it's fun. There is a lot of image, and it's a very few few weeks ago. Somebody looked at my home and said, "Oh, I love your space. It's very clutter core," and I didn't know it was a thing, but that I'm very clutter core. Like maybe I am the anti Marie Kondo. I like the idea of Marie Kondo, and I use this like, is this object spark joy? Yes, I keep it. If it doesn't, I don't. But for me, there are a lot of silly things, silly objects, plastic toys, or things like this that spark joy. Sometimes it's even difficult for me to throw off a bottle of, I don't know, shampoo, because I was like, oh, but this sparks so much joy because this shampoo, I bought it 2 months ago while I was on the trip, and I saw this and I saw this. So I have a very strong connection with object. It's not like I'm a materialist, or maybe I am, but the object maybe are not very expensive. They are just like linked to memories, and I like to be reminded of memories. So I was saying I love going at Strangeland because I love also there all these clutters which are fun and are maybe from friends that are artists. There are screen prints or books or something like this. But sometimes it can be very frustrated when I'm like in the middle of concentration, I'm drawing, or I'm also maybe in a zone of, okay, I'm answering emails, I'm writing emails, I need to concentrate, or I'm editing the podcast, or I don't know. And there you have friends or people that come to the shop just to say hello. And I'm very, how do you say, I'm very conflicted about this because I love when people come at Strangeland to say hello. I love to make coffee for my friend to come and see me, to come and see me, or maybe to exchange, to talk, to connect with humans. But when I'm in the zone of concentration, maybe because of my ADHD, get me out of this zone. It's so frustrating that sometimes I feel a real anger. I'm like, oh, no, please don't talk to me. Please don't enter the shop, which is very weird because it's a shop. It's a street shop. Like the door is directly on the street, and it's cool when people enters because it means that maybe I will take some appointments and maybe I can pay my bills, but it can be very frustrating to get distracted. And since it's a public space, since it's a shop, Strangeland, I can't act on my impulse of saying, please get off my shop, please get away, please don't talk to me. Because it will be very strange, you enter in a shop, in a place which is open to public, and the person who owns it say to you, go away, I don't want to talk to you. Uh, when I think about it, it's not very, very strange here for La Rochelle, because sometimes people can be, especially in some places, can be very nasty. Like feels like they don't like to be disturbed, even if it's like a cafe or something like this. But this is maybe a way whole other subject, and maybe it's a more local subject. And maybe if you are interested in this and you speak French, I have a podcast that I do with my partner, Justina, aka Trognette, in which it's called like Strangeland ex Nicoz Balboa, and in which we talk about this, about La Rochelle, and often with people who come and see us. So coming back to the reason of this podcast, once I said all this, now maybe you can understand a little bit more why, when I'm alone, I like to create a nest, a creative nest. Did you see the picture in my Substack notes? I will put them back also here in this show notes. Maybe if you listen to the podcast to some platform, maybe you wouldn't be able to see the picture. I don't know how it works, but you can go to, I guess it's nicozbalboa.substack.com. Let me check. Yes, indeed. And you go there and you can find the post about the blog post about episode 10 in the archives, and you will find it. You will find the picture of my creative nest. Let me know how and where and with whom is your creative nest. In which way you like to reconnect with what you like to do to reconnect with creativity. It can be drawing, can be graphic journaling, can be knitting, can be cooking maybe. So maybe I already know where is your creative nest. At least I guess it's maybe in the kitchen. Or maybe you cook in the bathroom. No, I'm joking. So let me know. I'm curious to know, where is your creative nest? What do you do to put yourself into this zone of comfort? And one last thing I'm thinking about, it's strange because when I tattoo, I am also I need also a creative, a creative inspiration when I'm freehand drawing on the client, and I need to access this space. But in that case, it's different because it's never meant to be an alone practice tattooing. So I'm also with the other person, and what I do to get in this creative zone, in this creative state of being. So often it's like, maybe I get a coffee and then I change the music, and then I bring near me all sort of like my Sharpies, or I realize that I have some rituals that free my body in some way, uh, in order for my creativity to come true. So maybe the solution for accessing this creative nest every time could be just installing a sort of living room in my studio. But it's strange because I also like to have a table, because for example when I paint I like to stand up, to be more mobile, to bigger formats. It's all for today. Please, if you enjoyed the episode, consider subscribing, consider sharing it with a friend who maybe need to hear this, maybe a friend who struggles to find their own creative nest. And you can also become a paid subscriber on Substack to support. Don't forget to rate 5-star on the platform you are listening it to. And please reach out to me, maybe on my Instagram, which is Nicoz_Balboa. This is the handle, or you can have all the infos about my tattooing practice, my books, or even my graphic journal classes on nicozbalboastudio.com. Bye bye. Have a cool day.